Thank you for watching this video. My name is Advocate Muhammad Abduroaf, and today's topic, how to apply for child maintenance. So there are many scenarios as to where a party would claim child maintenance for the minor child. The usual example would be where parents cannot come to an agreement regarding child maintenance, and the mother would approach the maintenance court for a maintenance order against the father for him to pay child maintenance. That's the usual scenario we know of. There are other scenarios, for example, in a case of a divorce, where the party who would have care of the minor child after the divorce would approach the divorce court and say, I would like, or ask the divorce court, I would like to have so much maintenance for my minor child. And this could include medical, education, entertainment, and so on. That's another scenario in a divorce court. And it's also possible in a domestic violence scenario where a party has not been maintaining the other party or the minor kids, and they urgently require some form of child support for the minor child or for him or herself. And you approach the domestic violence court for that, and the domestic violence court might make an interim order pending the finalization of the issue of maintenance in the maintenance court. But that is not a very common scenario, and it's a bit technical, but it's possible. How do you apply for child maintenance? Firstly, you apply to a court for a maintenance order. But there first needs to be a need for the child maintenance. You can't approach the maintenance court and say, you know what, I would like to have A, B, C, and D for my minor child, and I feel that the other party should just pay for that. Despite there not being a need for that, there might be a want for that. For example, you would like to purchase a minor child a ticket to go overseas. There is a want for that, but not necessarily a need for that. And also, the question might be, is this the standard of living the minor child is accustomed to? And at the same time, is it a item or an expense which the other party can afford to pay and has been paying in the past, etc., and so on. Obviously, there are scenarios that will always apply. For example, education. The minor child is entitled to a reasonable, good education based upon the standard of living of the parents, their capabilities, affordability, and so on. But at the same time, if the minor child is used to going to a school which charges, I'm using a silly example here, 50 Rand a month, and now you want to put the child into a school that charges 500 Rand a month, but both parties only earns 1,000 Rand per month. That doesn't make logical sense. It might be in the child's best interest ultimately to go to the best and find the schools there are, but if the parties cannot afford to pay it, it won't work. No court will authorize and force a parent to pay an amount of maintenance or for certain items he or she cannot afford to pay. It doesn't make sense. So you'll have to be reasonable. So the approach I would advise you to follow would be, firstly, try to discuss the issue of how much child maintenance you require from the other parent, what it is for, how do you unpack it. So you might say, I require 1,000 Rand, and I unpack it as follows: school, medical, clothing, accommodation, etc. And you come to this figure. Outline as well your income and say, I can only afford so much, or I do not earn any income, or this is what I have, what I'll sell in order for me to be able to maintain the minor child. All scenarios are different, all facts are different. You need to unpack it and say these are the circumstances. Once you have done that, approach your other parent and say, please assist, please increase your child maintenance, or please pay child maintenance based upon this. If the other parent does not want to comply or is not in agreement with you or partially complies and says, you know what, I'm only willing to pay X, so much money, because I believe this is reasonable, any of those scenarios, you will obviously need to approach a court. And the obvious court to approach would be the maintenance court in your area. So if you live in Cape Town, you approach the Cape Town Maintenance Court. If you live in a different suburb, you approach that Pacific Maintenance Court. You fill in an application form outlining your income, your assets, your expenditure, all of those things. And specifically the expenditure of the minor child. Clothing, accommodation, food, entertainment, extramural, whatever the expenses for the minor child is, you unpack it. You put it on the maintenance application form. It's a Form A, I believe. Once you have done that, you need to approach a maintenance court. You go to the maintenance court. You may even complete the form at the maintenance court. And the maintenance court will open up a file. They will call the father in, subpoena him, send him a letter, however they decide to do it. And you and the father, in my scenario here, will appear at the maintenance court. You will appear before the maintenance officer, who will do an inquiry and try to resolve the matter between the parties. If the maintenance officer cannot resolve the issue, after having seen the father's income, your income, the expenditure of the minor child, etc., but the maintenance officer believes there is a case for maintenance, the maintenance officer believes that the father should be paying more money, or there's a serious dispute over here, that can only be resolved with the assistance of the maintenance magistrate and via a trial, where the one parent will have to go on a witness stand and explain, these are my child's expenditure, this is my income, etc. And the other parent will have to explain as well, I earn only so much, I can't afford to pay so much child maintenance, and I do not believe that the child requires so much. It obviously, you have a right to do that, and I have no problem with that. It needs to be debated and ventilated. At the end of that entire process, the maintenance magistrate will make an order, which will be a maintenance order advising the parties how much maintenance one party should pay the other, or what expenditure one party should pay. For example, the court might say the father should pay half the school fees, or the father should place a minor child on his or her medical aid, and so on, whatever is fair under the circumstances. The same principle will apply in a maintenance court situation in a divorce, my apologies, the same scenario will apply in a divorce matter, where the court will have to try to resolve the issue concerning child maintenance. The court would want to see both parties' income, expenditure of the minor child, etc. So that's basically how it works. You approach the court, and the court will try to assist you as best they can. If the parties cannot come to a resolution on the issue, the court will have to make an order. A maintenance order is a serious order. It's an order of court. If one of the parties, or the party who is supposed to pay the child maintenance, violates a court order, he or she is in violation of a court order, contempt of court, and can be jailed for that as well. That's also possible. Therefore, I advise any party when dealing with a child maintenance matter, please be very smart about it, outline all your income, all expenditure properly, so that the maintenance court can come to a fair and a proper decision on the amount of maintenance you should claim, you may claim, or the other party should pay. And at the same time, if there is a maintenance order in place and you feel things have changed a few years later, you are earning much less, you can approach a maintenance court for a reduction. And the opposite also applies. If you have a maintenance order and a few months later, or a few years later at least, that might make more sense, things have changed, you lost your job, the minor child requires more maintenance, you are allowed to approach a maintenance court for a review, and they will apply their mind. They will say, you know what, I looked at the facts, the child requires more maintenance, the father can't afford to pay, and they will order him to pay more, much more, or a reasonable amount of money. Thank you for watching this video.